I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I never know when it's going to happen, and it's driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. He's crazy.
Oh, okay. And what about it? I hate you, whatever the fuck else. What about it?
What's the problem?
I'm trying to kill my dad.
What?
Who was the person that was shot?
My mom and my dad.
Your mom and dad?
My mom and dad.
Jose Menendez, President, Chief Executive Officer of Live Entertainment, joining us here in Los Angeles.
The company is broad-based and it provides pretty much what the consumer wants.
I knew Eric, I went to high school with him, and I knew his father, Jose, and he was not a nice man.
Looking back, I didn't say, oh my gosh, really? Somebody killed him? Oh, he's the only one that I've ever met that I would say, well, it's not a surprise.
It'll make me sound awful to millions of people, but of all the people in the world who might get murdered, this one would be kind of on my top 5 list.
They would pose for pictures.
Beautiful.
They put on the airs of being this great family. Inside, I lived with them for over a year. I couldn't take it anymore.
I wished I never lived with them because I wouldn't have known that behind the doors scenario was going on in that house.
My bedroom was downstairs and there were 2 single beds. And Lyle came downstairs one night, it was before bedtime, and wanting to sleep in the other bed. And he said that he was afraid that his dad was going to come into his room, that he and his dad had been touching each other down there. And he indicated his groin area. So I went to get Kitty and I told her what was going on. She didn't say anything. She just took him by the arm and took him back upstairs and took him back to his bedroom, and that was it.
What I experienced while living with them was strange. When I first went to stay with them, the 2 boys and Jose would go into the master bedroom and the door would close. And we're taking the boys for a shower. Well, I found it to be kind of strange because I felt they were old enough to take their own baths.
If Jose was by himself with one of the boys, it was understood by everybody. Not only were you allowed not to interrupt them, you weren't even allowed to go on the same floor.
And there were noises coming out of the room that didn't make me happy. I heard what sounded, it was a person, like a person's scream, and I got up to go down the hall. At that point, Kitty yelled out, looked at me and says, "You're not going down there."
When one of the boys was sent down the hall and Jose went into the room with them,
You couldn't go down there.
51 witnesses, and nobody else coming out on the other side and saying, that's not true.
A member of the boy band, Menudo, claims he was sexually assaulted multiple times by Jose Menendez, who was then head of RCA Records.
Y yo estuve una semana con un dolor terrible. Con un dolor que no podía más, no me podía ni mover. Yo me acuerdo que yo tenía que simular que yo no estaba con dolor, pero el dolor estaba tomando cuenta de mi vida, que era un dolor terrible. Y sangré muchísimo.
I have now practiced criminal defense for a very long time. I have never seen so many family members of the victims come to speak on behalf of the people that killed the victims. It is remarkable. It is unheard of. It is unprecedented.
Leslie presented like 6 weeks of relative after relative and friend after friend and associate of the family testifying about the traumas that they witnessed, the terror that they saw me go through. These were terrible stories.
He asked me if my dad ever gave me massages. At that point, I got the feeling he was actually trying to find out if any of these massages were normal. Well, he told me his father was massaging his dick. He told me he wanted him to stop.
Were you familiar with a nickname that your cousin Eric used to refer to himself?
It was Hurt Man.
The molestation started at age 6. That was the massages. Then it became sexual at the age of 7, and it involved oral copulation. Then there was intercourse between the ages of 9 and 10.
Would any doctor looking at that full range of symptoms been alerted to the possibility of sexual abuse just looking at this medical history?
He used objects.
What kind of objects?
A toothbrush and some sort of shaving utensil brush.
And what would he do with the toothbrush?
Well, in the bedroom, we'd have what we called object sessions, and just slide my pants down or take my pants off. Sometimes it would be for a short period of time, sometimes longer. Just lay me on the bed and he'd have a tube of Vaseline and he just played with me. He'd rape me.
Did you cry?
Yes.
Did you bleed?
Yes.
Were you scared?
Very.
Did you ask him not to?
Yes. I don't.
One time I was talking with Lyle, and as I'm sitting on the bed, I'm looking, and under the bed is a Tupperware container. What the hell is that for? And Lyle then goes, "No, don't touch that." And to my dismay, there was a Tupperware container that had feces in it. And I looked over at him, I said, "What the f*** is this?" He looked at me and he says, "Well, when I get nervous, I don't want to go take a bathroom or tell Mom I have to go to the bathroom, so I just go to the bathroom and I close it up." I'm like, what the f***?
Now, you've mentioned earlier that he had made some efforts to accomplish anal intercourse with you that had been unsuccessful because it hurt you?
Yes.
Do you recall the day that he succeeded?
Yes.
And was that a gentle process or not?
No, not at all.
What was it, Mr. Menendez?
It was very, very painful.
Any indication in Eric Menendez's medical records of an injury to his throat area?
Yes.
Could that be caused by child sexual abuse, in your opinion?
Yes.
Yeah, I've always considered my favorite aunt. She could be a very happy and very fun person to be around. In the beginning it was.
Kitty helped us move to Arizona from Illinois in 1960. Kitty, she was my mentor. I idolized her, but she changed throughout the years. Her drinking was increasing, and her temper tantrums were worse and more frequent.
My mom, it was almost as if she had two personalities. Next thing you know, she would start taking dishes from cabinets and start smashing them and breaking them.
To me, it sounded like a glass fell. So I rushed in to find out what happened, to find Kitty is throwing dishes, throwing cups, making a mess.
Her anger was fierce. She would put her fists to her side and she'd just grit her teeth and she'd be cursing at you. And just, it was literally frightening. It was frightening to me. I can only imagine how it was to Lyle and Eric.
Each time I make my
ways that my mom would punish me was by locking me in her closet. And I would be locked in the closet sometimes a day, from the afternoon till the next morning.
Each time I look outside, my mama dies. I feel my back is changing shape.
Afternoon till the next morning. I would eat in there, I would drink in there, I would go to the bathroom in there. So I would hide food, I would hide water, I was given Tupperware to go to the bathroom in the closet. The closet was a terrifying place for me.
I couldn't understand why she always looked so loopy.
She had been admitted through the emergency room. From the moment I met her, it was quite apparent that she was a woman in anguish. When I told her that I thought it would be appropriate for her to be transferred to a local psychiatric hospital for further stabilization, her husband, who had arrived, simply refused that recommendation, operating from his own agenda rather than that of his wife.
It's disappointing to me that she didn't leave, that she put up with what she claims at the end that she always knew.
My sister could have protected her kids. That was her job.
Bob Rand did discover one other person who said Lyle Menendez had talked about sexual abuse before he was arrested. Donovan Goudreau, roommate of Lyle's at Princeton.
He told me a lot about their past and stuff, and you know, it was similar to my past. I was molested as a child, and I told him that, and I guess that opened the gate. He told me, and it was like, wow, Lyle and his brother were molested.
But frankly, there is absolute hard proof that Eric Menendez did not take this nasty picture of his brother. Here is a gathering of people. Here is Lyle in the bathtub, one can assume the morning of the birthday party, and here is Eric in bed. Now, Eric is in bed when this naked picture of Lyle is being taken. See, here's the next picture on the roll. Now, are we supposed to believe that 6-year-old Eric, who testified he was not allowed to handle a camera until he was 12 or 13, got out of bed to go take a naked picture of his brother, and then got back into bed so someone could take a picture waking him up?
I think almost as amazing as the fact that these pictures were taken was that these pictures were saved.
We're very sure not only that the brothers have rehabilitated and that they will be safe to be reintegrated in our society, but that they have paid their dues. We will be filing for resentencing tomorrow. That often we don't believe victims of sexual assault. We saw in our first trial, the jury could not come to a conclusion, and in fact about half of the jury wanted to convict them of manslaughter, which if that were have been the case, they would have been off prison a long time ago. But it's salient to understand that our bias around sexual abuse and sexual assault often leads us to severe injustices.